just got finished putting in a Pertronix advanced limiter kit in my Pertronix distributor. So if you're interested in how to do that, how that works, we'll talk about timing. It's all in this episode, so stay tuned. Hey, good morning. Bill here, Christine, she's running. I'm very pleased with this. She's been running for a couple of weeks now. Last weekend I broke in a new set of hydraulic lifters on this comp cams on this 307 first generation small block, but now I'm fine tuning things, and one of the things that I discovered was that with this cam that's in this 307, it's a 290 degree comp cam, and it's pretty big for this little 307. I've just got a 600 CFM Holly on it that I just put on it. I advanced the cam 4 degrees because again the cam is too big for this motor, but all I had to wake up the bottom end, and it seems like it's snappy. I haven't put it on a street yet, but as far as throttle response goes, it's very snappy right now. It feels really good, but the timing is not quite where we want it. This is a brand new Pertronix, what do they call it? The Flame Thrower distributor. Brand new Pertronix distributor with the Igniter 2 module in it. And this motor, because of the low cylinder pressure, because of the low signal, it likes a lot of timing in order to start. So it's looking for somewhere between 12 and 16 degrees to start, instead of like your old customary static, initial timing to be like 6 or 8 degrees. This likes to be like up near 14. So the issue is that's got a 24 degree mechanical advance in it. So when you run it at open throttle and say 3,000 RPMs, by 3,000 RPMs, all the mechanical advance is coming in, plus that's added to your initial timing. So this motor right now is sitting around 40 degrees, and it's a little bit too much, and that's under load. So I don't want any popping and pinging, and I'm going to show you why that's potentially a bad thing. But I've got a kit that I'm going to put in. I've got a kit from Pertronix that has a couple of limiters in it. So there's a number of different combinations you can put in with little tabs that will stop the mechanical advance from advancing too much. But before we get into that, let's go over a little bit of the ignition timing theory, and let me show you a few things that should help you out. So welcome to my classroom. All right, so when we're talking about ignition timing, we're talking about crankshaft rotation, right? So you talk about top dead center. So given a crank and a journal and a connecting rod that goes up, and here's a piston. So the piston is at top dead center when this is all stretched out, right? When this is perfectly in line, when this journal on the crank is in line with the connecting rod, is in line with the center of the bore, and everything is at the very top. So what you end up with is top dead center being what we refer to as top dead center, right, is the number 1 piston at the very top. So if you can picture, as the crank might rotate from point to point, the connecting rod, the piston is still in a cylinder. So as the crank's coming around here, it's connected, the piston is down at this position, and then as the crank rotates up, now the piston is rising up, and then as the crank continues to rotate down, it slides down. But if you ever saw this kind of like this travel, it's like the speed of the piston as it's coming up and down, it's not uniform. It's really fast when the crank is at 90 degrees, and it's really slow when the crank is all the way up here at 0. It's really slow. So what happens is the piston goes fast up, slows down, dwells a little bit, and then drops down, and it dwells a little bit at the bottom. So what that does is that allows that when you have a piston coming up, when you have a piston, a combustion chamber, and a piston is coming up towards the very top. So here's the head, and this is where we're looking at our quench area for the valve opens and closes. The valve here opens and closes, but this is what we're trying to do. You're trying to ignite. Here's a spark plug. So the spark plug is trying to ignite this. Well, you can take advantage of the fact that this piston kind of has a slow dwell time at the very top. So when it's approaching here, what you can do is you spark the air fuel mixture early and give it a chance to start to propagate across the entire combustion chamber. So you spark it at some ignition timing that is before the crank is at top dead center, before this piston is all the way up against the almost buried against the head. So it takes time for the flame travel to engulf and encapsulate all the air fuel mixture in this. So what we've learned over time is that on a Gen 1 small block Chevy, the max timing is going to want to be somewhere around 36 degrees. 36 degrees before top dead center. So as you're dealing with your distributor, your initial advance, your mechanical advance, you want to make sure that all that adds up to nothing more than 36 degrees, because if not, now you're starting to run into the danger zone. You might get detonation, pinging, you might get that, but what's going on is for every degree that you're ahead of the piston, so all the pressure that's building up, let's say we spark it at 36 degrees, all the pressure that starts building up, this piston is still trying to come up. That piston is still trying to come up, and that flame is building pressure, building pressure, building pressure. It's negative work. It's basically fighting. The piston is fighting that timing. But again, because like I said, it's slow and the dwell time is long up there, you can kind of get away with it. So overall, it makes for the most powerful combination for these motors is 36 degrees before top dead center. But every one of those degrees is working against the rotation of the crankshaft. So you run too much timing, and now you're trying to force the crank in the wrong direction. You're fighting against it. You're pushing against it. So you don't want to run too much advance. You want you got to be in the sweet spot. So now check this out. So in the mid 90s, right, they came out with the Vortec. And the Vortec is a completely different animal. The Vortec head is the valves are on different angles. The movement in the combustion chamber is a lot more efficient. These motors, if this was a Vortec, this motor wants a max. Its sweet spot is 30 to 32 degrees before top dead center, all in. So you can see just right off the bat that not only that with that additional efficiency of the combustion chamber does, it's not that this is not burning everything as well as this one, but this one is burning so much better that you don't have to set it up with so much negative. You can get you have 4 to 6 degrees less timing you need to run with a Vortec. This is one of the reasons why the Vortec was the hot ticket item, is because of this. Not just because the head itself was better, but one of the things that made the head better was this, is that you didn't need to run as much timing. So I'm going to show you what we're going to do to our distributor now. This is Christine's old distributor. This is a points distributor that was converted to be just a trigger for an MSD. I decided to replace it with that Pertronix unit because I was going to install all the new innards in the distributor, and by the time I put all those in my cart, new cap, new rotor, the Pertronix igniter module, shims for the bottom, by the time I was going to do all that, for another like $50 more, I could have me a brand new distributor with a new vacuum canister. That was the other thing, the adjustable vacuum canister too for the vacuum advance. So I decided to go ahead and put just put a new distributor in. But let me show you where we're going to be working, because the innards of the distributors are the same. Okay, so here is the mechanical advance on the distributor, and these counterweights, these weights fly out. They're centrifugal weights, so they fly out with speed. So as you get to revving up the motor, getting the motor up to RPM, these two centrifugal weights fly out, and if you'll notice, they pry on this centerpiece. So this center bar has a certain shape, the shape between where this part of the flyweight, the counterweight, see how it's doing that? So where it's pushing against this, it's causing this to rotate, it's putting some mechanical advance in the timing, it's moving, it's not moving the distributor. What it is moving, it's moving the relationship of the rotor relative to the cap at any given moment. So these springs are another thing, is you can change these springs, and the springs won't change the amount of timing you get, but it'll change the rate at which you get it. Stiffer springs, the timing is, these centrifugal weights have to fight it, so it needs more RPM to get the total advance. Lighter weights, less RPM to get the total advance. But what we're going to do is, I've got this kit I need to crack open and show you how it goes on here. So this is a kit that Pertronix sells, and it is a combination of springs, which I don't have any intention of using, and a combination, it's that and these limiters. So these brass limiters are what I was really after. So I'm gonna, I need to tinker with it to see exactly what the instructions say. I'm gonna do it on this distributor on the bench, so then I can go underneath the hood of Christine and go straight at it and know exactly what I'm getting into. So the instructions are absolutely terrible to get you to understand where these things go and how they go. But this is pretty much it. On the inner pin, which is on the distributor shaft, and reaching up and around and over the centrifugal weight. This is how this sits. So what these do is, each one of these, there's one marked with a 6, there's one marked with an 8, or there's a pair marked with 6, there's a pair marked with 8, and then there's a pair marked with 10. And each one of these, that's the amount of the 6, 8, and 10 is the amount of camshaft degrees, so you add them together. So this is going to, like, 2 6s will limit the mechanical advance to 12 degrees. Two number 8s will limit the mechanical advance to 16 degrees. 2 number 10s will limit the mechanical advance to 20 degrees. And then without any limiter, the stock out of the box is 24 degrees. So where Christine is, I need to figure out where my initial timing likes to be. And so I'm going to put a timing light on it, and I'm going to measure that first. And then I'm going to figure out whether or not I need to limit my mechanical advance to the 2 6s, which would give me 12 degrees additional, or if I limit it to the 2 8s, which would give me 16 degrees of additional mechanical advance, or the 2 10s, and that'll give me another 20 degrees of mechanical advance. The difference between each one of these, it's hard to tell, it's hard to see, but you see the 8 and the 10, it's easier to see with the 6. It's the distance from this outer bar to that hole. So there's the 6 on the left, the 8 is somewhere in between, and the 10 on the right. And the length of the distance between here and here, it limits how much this centrifugal weight can fly out. So let's go ahead and let's get Christine started. I want to put a timing light on it. I want to see what my initial timing is, where does it like to be, and then we're going to go from there. So this is going to be a completely cold start. I haven't run her in a week. So she's running good. So I don't mind that it's idling so low, because I'm going to check the timing right now. I got the vacuum advance into ported vacuum, so it's not getting any signal right now. Let's see what we're getting on timing. So I think you can see my timing tab now. All right, so You can see my timing mark. It's at the very top of that tab. And I don't know, you can see the things that look like dice marks. That's 30, 35, and 40 degrees. 3 dots, 1 dot, and 4 dots. But I'm sitting right there at that. That's my initial timing, is where it's sitting, that mark that's at the very top. So I'm very pleased it popped right off. It started immediately. She started right off the bat. You saw that? That was a week. I have not run this car in a week. Today's Saturday. I haven't turned the key since Sunday a week ago. So that, to me, was amazing. It didn't backlash. It didn't spit. It didn't sputter. It didn't hesitate. I turned it on, the electric fuel pump, put pressure to the carburetor to fill the bowls from what little bit might have drained. I gave it 1 pump, turned it, no choke, and it popped like that. So that's a good timing. So let me look at that timing mark and see where that actually is. So now you can see when I killed it, I happened to kill it, and the timing mark is way down there. But I'm on my tab right here. I need to get a light, and I need to see what mark that is right there. How many degrees of advance? I can barely get the phone around there. All right, 12 degrees is this last tab, is that last tip. And it was probably another couple of degrees past that, so it's about 14 degrees. So 14 degrees is about what I was saying. So I'm kind of like in between. I'm in a little bit of a no man's land. So I need to really think about what I want to do with 14 degrees. So if I've got 14 degrees initial, where's my pen? Do some math. If I'm going to have 14 degrees initial, and I want 36 degrees all in, then I'm looking for, what is that, 22 degrees. 22 degrees. How do I get 22 degrees out of these? So let's see, if it was 16, that would be 20. Got to do some thinking. Well, after giving it maybe about 2 minutes of thought, 22 degrees, the least restrictive set of limiters I can put in will give me 20. So it's either I accept it right now, going to about 38 to 40 degrees of timing, which I don't want, or I put these two 10s in, which will give me 20 degrees limit. And because of the geometry of the distributor, you know, the 210s, who knows how exact and precise that is. So it may give me 22. I don't know, but I would rather have just shy of the ideal amount of timing than to have too much timing. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm put the 210s in, and we're going to fire it back up and see what it does when we come up to RPM. Okay, the rotor is off. You can see the counterweights and the 2 springs. So I'm gonna pull the springs off, and I got to be very ginger and do that very gingerly and carefully, because I don't want to lose those springs. There's minimal chance of them falling into the motor because nothing's open except for the carburetor throat here, but the blades are shut. So I'm going to go ahead and get those springs off and then put those clips in, and I'm going to show you what it looks like after. That's what it looks like with them in. So it's a lot cleaner than that old distributor. But you can see it's under the inner pin and then extending over the counterweight to keep the counterweight from being able to swing out too much. So they fit very loosely. They're not tight at all. They're very, very, very loose. So I'm trusting that vibrations and everything else will get this not wedged, and I'm trusting that it's a Pertronix distributor, Pertronix limiting kit. I'm sure that these parts are engineered. Fingers crossed. So yeah, all right. Now I just need to put the cap back on, put all the plug wires back on, and then test it. And by the way, I used a little dental pick. These are cheap at Harbor Freight, but that's what I used to tease the spring out. And I used my thumb and my index finger on the spring while I was teasing the other side out. So you take the outer band off first, and then you wiggle it off the inner pin. So this little tool worked nicely for that. Everything's hooked back up. 184366572. I've got the springs in place. You've already seen that. I have not changed the timing. Got my timing light set up, so let's go ahead and see if she'll fire up. she'll never fire without the coil wire hooked up. How about that? Coil wire. Now it'll start. Alright, so the vacuum advance is completely disconnected. It might have been adding a little bit, but I have not changed anything. Let's get you zoomed in on that timing tab and let's see what I'm talking about. Alright, we're looking for those 30s and 40s. That's almost perfect. It might be a little bit slow, but it's close. Right about where I want it. All right. Just need to put the filter back on. Breather. This is a little 307, and so I'm wearing that like a badge, man. I put the 307 TurboFire decal on it, and unfortunately it's chrome and orange or chrome and red, and because the bottom of my hood is painted red, it reflects red on red, but it makes the point. If anybody sees that and can tell it's a 307, you know, there you go. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Do hope you got something out of it. I hope it was helpful to you. You know, how to put in that Pertronix timing limiter, maximum advance limiter. It's not that difficult. You can do it in an hour, maybe 2, in your driveway if you've never done it before. And if you've done it before, it's probably a 30-minute job. So anyway, that's going to do it. If you got something out of this episode, if you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. And as always, if you're enjoying my channel, I'd love a subscription. So until I see you next time, please take care of yourself. Cheers.